A tense courtroom silence wrapped the room like a heavy fog. A black woman in a sharp navy suit walked in with the presence of someone who knew she had earned her place, but a police officer blinded by bias blocked her path. Her federal credentials, clearly displayed, were brushed aside with contempt. He yanked her badge, accusing her of faking it, and in front of a stunned audience tried to cuff her. What he didn't realize was that in just a few minutes the truth she carried would shake his entire world. This is the story of Kenya Harris, a federal investigator who turned a public humiliation into a powerful reckoning. Get ready, because what follows will leave you speechless. It was a Thursday morning in a Newport City courthouse. The atmosphere felt thick, as if the walls had absorbed decades of injustice. Kenya Harris, 37, stepped into courtroom 6C, each stride measured and deliberate. Her tailored suit radiated confidence, a leather case in hand, containing digital proof capable of exposing deep-rooted corruption. Audio files, testimonies, videos. That morning she wasn't just another agent, she was a fuse ready to ignite buried truths. Kenya was raised in Greystone, North Carolina, where resilience was taught, not in schools but around worn-out kitchen tables and city blocks. Her mother worked endless hours at the local ER. Her father vanished before she hit her teens. By age 15, she had mastered survival. Stay quiet, be alert, keep your ID in plain sight. Grit propelled her to the federal ranks, not because of favors, but because of an unbreakable drive to prove wrong, a world that constantly misjudged her. But as she neared the courthouse entrance, Officer Roy Sanderson, a veteran in his 50s, stared her down, disregarding her badge altogether. "That's fake," he barked, standing firm. "You don't belong here." He never asked a question, never checked her credentials. He just grabbed her arm, twisting it hard. Metal cuffs clamped shut around her wrists as the crowd fell silent. Judges, attorneys, journalists, all frozen. No one stepped forward. Kenya's face, pressed against the wood railing, but rage, not fear, surged through her. She wasn't just any agent. She was the lead in an investigation uncovering a ring of crooked officers, including Sanderson himself. Inside her briefcase, now knocked to the floor, was everything needed to destroy him. Voice clips, forged orders, threats, and acts of brutality. Yet he had no idea. "Where'd you steal this badge from?" Sanderson sneered, waving her ID like a toy. Few officers chuckled, but the public remained still, as if bracing for a storm, and on her knees. Kenya looked up and muttered, "You just buried your career." He tightened the cuffs, thinking he'd silenced her. He couldn't have been more wrong in the holding room. Kenya sat still, the marks on her wrists. A sharp reminder. A young officer brought her water, mumbling, "Sorry." She didn't reply. She didn't need pity. What happened wasn't just a mistake. It was proof that even with a badge and a cause, the system still saw only her skin. Outside, camera flashes popped. Clips of the arrest hit social media within minute. The judge called a recess, but no one in the courtroom was confused about the reason. The woman set to testify had just been humiliated by the very officer she came to expose. But Kenya Harris came back. Her testimony was still on the schedule. The energy had shifted. Every eye followed her. Phones were raised in silence. Even the court stenographer paused before typing. When Kenya stepped onto the witness stand, her voice sliced through the hush. "For the last 7 months, I've led an undercover investigation into coordinated misconduct within the Newport Police Department," she declared, holding up a USB drive and pointing toward the projection screen. The room seemed to stop breathing on the screen. Audio files, fake documents, and altered body cam clips played, laying bare a pattern of racial targeting and repeated protocol violations. Kenya hit play, and a familiar voice echoed. Officer Roy Sanderson instructing a fellow cop to frame a young black man with made-up charges in the gallery. The man's mother buried her face in her hands. Quiet tears streaming, Kenya didn't pause. "I have 12 more recordings," she said, "each tied to wrongful arrests of black individuals under 30, all dismissed due to lack of evidence." She looked straight at the jury. "The trend is undeniable. The motive, unmistakable." Sanderson, sweating bullets, whispered frantically to his attorney. The smugness had drained from his face. when the prosecutor asked her if she could name the officer who had harassed her just 3 weeks before. She replied without a second of doubt, Officer Roy Sanderson. The judge, jaw tight, confirmed. That's the same officer involved in this morning's altercation? Kenya nodded. Yes, Your Honor. That's why I respectfully request that the remainder of my testimony be granted federal protection. My safety is compromised. The judge agreed, and in that instant, the courtroom's mood flipped. Sanderson wasn't an authority anymore. He was a file number, a voice in a scandal, a badge weaponized against the truth. The next morning, Kenya arrived in the same suit, the same briefcase. But now the hallway was swarmed with media cameras flashed, and the whole city seemed to be watching. Sanderson entered disheveled chewing gum. Nervously, his bravado gone, Kenya stood firm, ready to finish what she had started. The judge announced. A federal motion to reveal newly uncovered documents. Kenya stepped forward. I submitted an emergency motion early this morning. Approved by my federal division head, she began. It includes clearance to present new classified material and a formal request for immediate disciplinary action against Officer Roy Sanderson. She pulled out a second USB, this one labeled with red tape inside. 26 minutes of audio from a confidential informant who had worked directly under Sanderson's command. The tapes exposed detailed orders to falsify records, intimidate subordinates, and suppress civilians' complaints. This is a setup. All lies, Sanderson shouted from his seat, but Kenya didn't blink. Would you care to explain, officer? She asked. What you meant when you said, I'm untouchable. I've got the whole system in my pocket. That's your voice on that recording, isn't it? The judge allowed her to proceed. A video began to play. Sanderson in a dim parking lot handing over a folder filled with manipulated reports, his face frozen on screen, a silent indictment. Your Honor, Kenya concluded, we request the immediate arrest of Officer Roy Sanderson on charges of obstruction of justice and conspiracy to derail a federal case. The judge, face stern, declared, Sheriff, take Officer Sanderson into custody. Sanderson stammered, You believe her over me? No. One answered, the cuffs clinked shut on his wrists, and that sound was the closing statement. Kenya leaned in just enough for him to hear her whisper, You didn't think I'd walk away without the last word, did you? But the story didn't end with Sanderson with her attorney, Rachel Lynn, and Officer Carlos Vega, who came forward in remorse. Kenya helped uncover a web of corruption far beyond the borders of Newport together. They reopened a 5-year-old case about a rookie cop who tried to report misconduct and was later found dead, officially ruled a suicide, but riddled with signs that told a different story. That case lit a fire, and Kenya, with a federal task force, exposed systemic abuse spreading across departments nationwide. Vega testified in front of the public, his words igniting new laws and protections for whistleblowers. Rachel became a fierce advocate in the courtroom, her name now synonymous with accountability. Sanderson was found guilty on several serious charges. His downfall became a message etched into headlines. No badge makes you untouchable. Kenya earned a promotion, stepping into a senior role at the Bureau, where she helped rewrite internal policies and mentored young agents, teaching them not just how to investigate, but how to stand firm when it matters most still. She never forgot the price she paid. The sleepless nights, the anonymous threats, the stares that lingered a second too long. One quiet afternoon in Riverdale, sitting at her mother's kitchen table, Kenya picked up a faded photo of her father, her mother, tears welling, softly said, He would have been proud. He would have been. Kenya didn't reply, but for the first time in a long while she exhaled deeply, letting the weight lift. Even if just for a moment, this isn't only Kenya's story, it's a challenge to all of us. What would you do if the system tried to silence you? Would you speak up even when it hurts? Would you truly listen to those finally brave enough to break their silence? Justice doesn't come with applause or shining medals. It comes with scars, with exhaustion, and the relentless choice to do the right thing again and again. Kenya proved that one voice can move mountains. Now it's your turn. Tell us in the comments. What would you have done in her place? What does this story mean to you? And if it moved you, subscribe for more stories that turn pain into purpose.